All right, let's do this. Joining me now, General Michael Flynn. Welcome back to the Alec Show.
Alec, thanks so much for having me. And wow, what a time, huh? I mean, it's been amazing. And I apologize for not, coming on earlier, but appreciate you being persistent and getting me back on.
Well, the last time we spoke was in March, and since then, so much has happened. You had Biden stepped aside, Kamala got installed, President Trump was shot at, hit, another assassination attempt. What do you make of this race here and everything that's gone down?
Yeah, I think that I've been saying this a lot, and maybe I said it on the last time that we spoke, but this is a takeover of the United States government by a small group of globalists who, are going to impose, if they win this election, they're going to impose what they call their new world order. We're going to move the world. We're the last sort of bastion of defense, and I've been saying this for years. This is not something new that I'm making up or pulling out of where. I mean, this is a part of the plan of what they call the fourth industrial revolution that Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum has written about in his book, The Great Reset. These are people that are looking at the world as what they call, this phrase, the New World Order. And I want, to remind your audience that the New World Order has been in vogue as a phrase since post World War I. So this has a long history of a group of people, a small group of people that have constantly tried to get us to a place where there are these globalist institutions, World Bank, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the League of Nations failed. And then you had, of course, post the 1920s, the rise of the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, I can go through the details of history all the way through the last 100 years to where we are now. But, this is not something like where the United States of America, would go in and take over a country like some small island nation like a Haiti or a Dominican Republic or an El Salvador, or even places like Iraq and Afghanistan, right, where we go in and we throw out the thugs that are in there and we take over the country, and then sadly we've screwed it up, right? I mean, we lost Afghanistan, we've lost Iraq, and we're a complete mess right now in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, and so now when we look at internally what's going on in this country, it's really bad. I mean, you just highlighted, I don't know, 5 or 6 things that one of them, Alec, one of them would be monumental. But those are all like huge tectonic type events that would cause any nation to just kind of go, to be thrown back and go, what the heck? And yet we're kind of like, we're in these paces, and yet we still are told by the corporate media that this race is close. I mean, that we have a divided country. I don't believe that. I believe that our country is only mentally divided because of the propaganda and the projection from the corporate media and places like Hollywood and the corporate world. That's sort of frankly, the governmental world, those that are running our government right now, they are going to continue to just beat down that this is a divided country, and Trump's bad, right? I mean, Donald Trump could have easily never run for president, number one, and had a great life, or after being torn apart in his first administration, and he was torn apart but still did great things. He could have said, no, you know what? I'm gonna let somebody else take on. I've given it my best shot, and I did some great things as a president, and I beat these bastards. But no, he stood back up even after a fake, false election in 2020. I don't care what anybody says. There's plenty of evidence that shows that the whole thing is manipulated, to include some of the stuff that we've seen from J6. We have people in prison that have never even been in front of a judge yet. So I'm not jumping around. I'm being very, very focused on the challenges that we are facing. And if we don't get this election, if we don't win this election, Donald Trump Donald J. Trump does not win this election, we are going to rapidly go down this path of socialism, and we're going to become the United Socialist States of America. Trust me, there's people all over the world, Alec, that are begging and praying for the United States to win this election, for Donald Trump to win this election, because they know that if he goes down, then they go down, and freedom will be an afterthought for potentially 100 years, 1,000 years, who knows?
Well, General Flynn, they know that as well as we do. So it's like, and Trump is in their way. We know that. He always says, he's in their way, and he's right, because they would have done this 8 years ago had not Trump come down the escalator and got involved in this. It would have already been done. He's in the way, and they keep trying to take him out, whether it be in the court system, whether it be shooting at him, whether it be through the media and the propaganda. Whatever, they're doing all hands on deck to stop this guy from doing what he's doing. And so it just has this feeling that we're getting set up for a disaster in 20 days here, man, because it just seems like they'll stop at nothing. Even if somehow they make a mistake and don't rig the election enough to beat him and he wins the election, we still got from November 5th until he gets put into the White House in January 20th, where anything can go wrong here.
Exactly. I mean, Congressman Jamie Raskin, I think he's from Maryland area. He's already said we're not going to certify the election. He's already said it. I mean, these people they're thugs. I mean, I hate saying it. I hate talking about people like that, but this is a very, very dangerous time. I don't think that they're done trying to kill President Trump. I hate to say that, but so between now and the president, and between now and the election, I mean, God knows what's going to happen. And then, like you say, I mean, if we don't have an answer, and by all rights, we should have an answer on election night as to who won. There's no reason why we shouldn't have that. And what we're going to find is a bunch of states that are going to go, well, we have additional counting, we need to count, and they're going to drag it out. And there's all kinds of lawfare that have already kicked in. Most people don't know, but one of the key lawyers on the left, his last name is Elias, he already has over 60 lawsuits that are filed in states and in counties already. I mean, and I would love to say the GOP has got its act together and they're ready there to. No, I don't think we're definitely not as organized as them. They operate off of one sheet, where we're operating off of all kinds of different sheets of music. And so yeah, the other point about what you said was just so right. Between an election, so let's just say he wins. Let's say we find out on election night. There's so much damage that they can do between then and the 20th of January, the time he gets inaugurated. And I don't think that they're done trying to eliminate this man. I really, really don't. I mean, that we know for certain that the second shooter, right, that he was on the FBI's radar. We know that the first guy was known by the FBI. So, guaranteed, because the FBI said it, the second guy was on their radar. And the fact that this guy was operating and conducting military training type operations and other communications with people in Afghanistan and in Ukraine, if the CIA didn't have him on their radar, they're incompetent. So I can almost guarantee they did have him on their radar, because a U.S. citizen operating overseas like that and as high of a profile as he had, they would have had to have him on their radar. So something is just incredibly wrong with how things are functioning. Instead of just saying, look, we're going to have a good, fair, honest election. The election system that we have is a fair system. You're going to vote. We're going to count the elections, and the best, person wins, right? It just doesn't feel that way. And I hate to talk like this, but folks, we've all been talking about this for 4 years, and we've seen how much they beat up Donald Trump for 8 years. Not just him, but his family and anybody associated with him, to include yours truly. I mean, the persecution that they will take anybody through, it's not just against that individual, it's against your entire family. I mean, they go after every aspect of it. So anyway, that's where we are. And if we don't get this one right, I fear for the country.
Yeah, same here. And just a couple of points on what you're saying there. First of all, I was at the Butler rally, the Trump return to Butler, and it's like just what you're saying, like they're telling us that this is a close race. the support for Trump is so overwhelming. I mean, it's amazing how, I don't know how many people were there, 70,000, 100,000, but it's amazing how many people genuinely realized what's at stake here in this election and the fact that Donald Trump is doing this again for them. And for these shooters, it's like you say about the guy with the CIA, that guy 20 years ago had a weapons of mass destruction charge on. They found more weapons of mass destruction in that guy's house than they did in Iraq. So he had to be on the CIA watch list. There's no doubt about it. And the fact too is you had 2 attempts on the president's life here, and it seems like it never happened. There's no coverage of it. There's no documentaries about it. This is a huge deal that's been completely suppressed and minimalized by the press.
And they still don't, and Alec, they still don't give him the respect nor the security, the necessary security that he needs in order to protect himself. I mean, the man has to fly around, so his aircraft is at risk. There's already reporting, and it's however you want to say it, there's already reporting of shoulder fired missiles that are coming in through Mexico. I know they call them they're called MiSag 3s. They're Iranian made. I mean, there's reporting of that. So there's an Iranian threat. Now, whether it's the Iranians or not, because both these shooters were far left guys, right? So I don't know whether it's the Iranian threat is real or not, but there's clearly reporting that is and the FBI has talked about it, the FBI director has said it. So in order for Trump to continue to get around the country, he needs additional security. I mean, our country there should be no problems providing him that level of security, whether it's aircraft to protect his airplane while in flight, whether it's widening the perimeter, the security perimeter around him. I mean, we're not talking about, the first attempt almost turned his head into red mist. I mean, so, and I know we don't want to harp on the assassinations here today, because there's the bigger picture is what will happen if we don't get this election right. And I fear for the voices of truth like yours and many others out there that have these I call them, citizen journalists or digital soldiers, I think those will go away. They will go away. Our freedom of speech will be denied. I mean, and I saw an interview with Tucker and Elon the other day, and Elon was kind of joking, like, well, if Trump doesn't win, what will happen to him? And he's laughing about, he'll go to prison, and I mean, this is not funny. I mean, I looked at it and I found it, enlightening, but it's not funny, because I know what they are willing to do to a person who only wants to serve our country, right? They will attack you and go after you if you want to serve honorably and you want to serve with integrity and you want to serve with honesty. They will destroy your life, because these people have no integrity, they have no honesty, and they only want power. And that's, frankly, Alec, that's on both sides, not just the Democrats.
100%. And I'll tell you what, Elon Musk coming on stage with Trump at that rally sent a huge message, to the globalists and the deep state. And he is a major, major factor. That was a huge moment for Donald Trump to have him. And to your point, too, about the GOP. Now, tomorrow I got the chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, coming on. I don't think that they've done enough or anything enough, nowhere close to what they had time over these last 4 years. And it seems like we're on the brisk of this election here. We're right at the, and we've done nothing. We're in the same position we were 4 years ago, and you thought by now everything would have changed, but nothing seems to. I mean, I had some pushback from, I know, Congressman Matt Gaetz, who was on here, said, we've done some stuff in certain battleground states, but I don't think there's anything near enough that has been done to secure the election.
No, I mean, there's local brush fires that local citizens, local activists have done to try to fix things, but I don't see this concerted RNC GOP effort. I don't. And I paid very close attention, as you are. I mean, like I see the effort that the left is taking to have a lawfare army in place, and they've already begun, and they're well funded. They have a strategy. They are in places that matter, and they're already acting. Now it'll be interesting to see if you have Whatley on tomorrow and listen to what he's got. I mean, so what are the measures that they have put in place that are going to stop cheating? What are they? And I want to, please be specific, Michael, because and everybody will bitch at me because they go, oh, Flynn's attacking the GOP. No, I'm not. I want this country led by Donald J. Trump. And the only way that it's going to happen is if we have a relatively fair election. And frankly, and I've been saying this for a while, if Christians have got to get out and vote. You can't have, 40 million or 30 million Christians sit at home because they don't like Donald Trump. Give me a break and not vote at all. No, we have too many people that have lost their lives, given their lives for this country to have that right. So get out there and vote for America. Vote for a patriotic constitutional republic, which is what Donald J. Trump represents. Kamala Harris represents a socialist Marxist ideology, and there's no denying it. It is undeniable. Bernie Sanders is the one that said she was left of him. I mean, and Bernie Sanders is an avowed socialist. So
yeah,
Jesus.
That's wild.
So yeah.
And I spoke with Jack Posobiec at that Butler rally, and he came around and said, if the Catholics will break for Trump, Trump is going to win. I mean, that's it. I mean, we got to get the Catholics, the Christians have got to come out to vote in this election. Yeah. But the other problem is, too, is we still got another 20 or 15 days left in October here for a massive October surprise. In my opinion, it has been that they'll push Biden at the last minute to resign and make Kamala Harris the president so that she can have this tour, this inauguration. It'll be free press, free campaigning for her.
Exactly.
And that's my October. What do you see? What do you think maybe we could see?
I mean, I've been going through and wargaming all kinds of scenarios. I mean, I know we're going to have an economic shift here. We're going to have it here before the election, and that's because of this upcoming BRICS summit. They're going to go to this digital form of currency, and so Trump is he wants to maintain the sanctity of the dollar as the currency of choice. I think we're still talking health scares, even though the American people are kind of like, don't fool us, don't try to fool us again. I do think that war is still on the horizon. I mean, today, last 24 hours, there's reports of a large Chinese armada around in the Straits of Taiwan and basically around the island of Taiwan. I don't think that there's going to be an invasion, but there's all of these external pressures. And then you have, what is going on in the swing states, right? I mean, we have places at risk, like, North Carolina, God help these people that got devastated by Hurricane Helene up in the mountains of North Carolina. 25 counties were destroyed in North Carolina. 23 of those counties voted for President Trump in 2020, 23 of them. So I don't know how those people are going to vote again in these. North Carolina is a critical state. Donald Trump doesn't win North Carolina, it's going to be a tough race to win. I mean, I think he'll take, we could go through all kinds of the scenarios. Like, I think he'll win Pennsylvania. I think Georgia's at risk. I think Arizona is clearly at risk. I mean, there's all of the indicators that looking back prior to 2020, and you kind of go, how can we, like we've been talking about, how can we still be here today wondering whether or not our elections are going to be fair? And I'll tell you, one finger that I would stick in the chest of anybody is in the chest of every Republican governor in this country. Not one of them has ever said that 2020 was possibly, maybe a little bit, had fraud. Okay, not one. So when they don't do that, when they don't say that, or when they don't act on that accord, then what that does is that just kind of, okay, then the system just keeps going the way it was, right? I mean, look at what we've discovered in Georgia alone. Oh my God, what's been found in these machines. And clearly everybody knows about the mail-in ballots and how ballot stuffing happens, finding hundreds of people voted from a vacant lot in Arizona. I mean, this is nuts. I don't see the big changes there. And to me, again, because you're going to have Watley on tomorrow, I'll be interested in what he says. And these people, the establishment are not friends of mine. And I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats, of course, they fear what I would do if I ever got back in government. But that's why, because I'll just speak for myself for a second here. In the last 48 hours, I've been all over the nasty media because it's like, they fear a guy like me going back in if Donald Trump wins. They fear a guy like me going back in. They didn't give me a chance in 2016, 2017 at all. And now we know why. And we know why because there are things that are going on in this country that they do not want to have discovered. And, if you're in that, if I was able to stay in, I've said this, Alec, if I was able to stay in that job, we'd have never had a Mueller investigation. Never. And because I would not have allowed it. And so now, Trump's got to be really smart going into these final few days about how he, about what he talks about, how he responds. I mean, I think lately he's been terrific in his rallies, in his town halls. Message is really strong, and it's resonating with more people than it's ever resonated with. Blacks, Hispanics, the Asian community, which is the large community in this country. I'm talking about, the Chinese Americans, the Vietnamese Americans, the Serbian Americans from the, the European communities that are American citizens. So I think we're going to have a turnout that is much greater than anybody projects, than any of the polls project, because I do believe that there's an uncertain feeling that a lot of people have, and they know that the writing's on the wall. If we don't get Trump back into office, this is going to become a communist country.
Well, unfortunately, General Flynn, I think that the Democrats or the globalists are already prepared for this. They have a contingency plan. If it feels like that happened, we tried to impeach Trump. If that don't work, we're going to go. We had coronavirus. We had that. Then we had mail-in ballots. If that don't work, we fix the election. If that don't work, we arrest them. If that don't work, we kill them. I mean, seems like they always have something else in plan down the line, and it just seems like too. And I know I'm running up against the clock here, but it's like you mentioned there, China circling Taiwan. It seems like, let's say Trump wins this election, that's almost like now China, if they're going to ever move on Taiwan, now's the time between November and January. The illegal immigrants that are going to surge the border, hey, now's the time. We got to get there now before January 20th. All these things are going to be massively sped ahead because they're going to say, if we don't do it by January 20th, we may never get a chance. Yeah. So let me just take it down a couple of decibels, because your audience can hear it in our voices, can hear the anxiety and the passion in our voices and in this conversation that we're having. Because everything that we're talking about is very real. We haven't said anything that's bullshit or conspiracy theory. No, this is all very real. And you've been great with your audience to keep it that way. People need to understand that empires rise and they fall. A fact of life is that nation states, the great nation states in world history, have they might, parts of them may still be around, but they're not great nation states anymore. I mean, every single empire. So is this the end of the American experiment, right? Which is what our founders always talked about. Is this it? I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is. My faith tells me that it's not. I do believe that, and as a Catholic kid, and you said it earlier, if the Catholics can sway themselves toward patriotism, toward Americanism, toward sort of republicanism. I'm not talking about Republican like a party. I'm talking about a constitutional republic, as we are. If they can, keep that aligned, I'll tell you, then the Catholics are a very, very powerful voting bloc in this country. Never mind the greater Christian community of all Christians. And so that's got to be it. If we want to make it too big to rig, it's because the Christian community comes out. Instead of in 2020, they sat it out. The numbers over in 2020 of Christians that were registered to vote that sat out are over 30 million. I mean, we can't have that. We can't have that. So that's my message to everybody, is to get out and vote. If you want to make America great again, you want to make America healthy again, you got to make America vote again. And folks, get out there and vote. Yeah, well said. And I think part of that problem that we're seeing with the Catholics is the leadership of the Catholic Church. The Pope Francis, he is not a Trump guy. He's not a conservative guy. He's not an America guy. And it seems like that's a big problem and a roadblock for Catholics to get over. But you would think that driving an abortion bus up to your rally would be enough for Catholics to say, I ain't going that way. This has to be stopped.
Yeah. Let me make one comment about the Pope, because the Pope just came out with a statement. It's just a credible statement. The Pope came out with a statement about how building walls, we should be building bridges instead of building walls to attack Trump. The Pope, stay out of it, Pope. You have so many walls around the Vatican. I mean, you can't scale those walls. I've been to the Vatican, and I've been inside, and I've had great, VIP level tours because of just because, right? Because of who I am. And one of the first things that was very stark to me was the walls. And they're there because all of the wars in Europe that have occurred over time to protect themselves. Okay, Pope. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, for this guy to weigh in at this moment in time is very telling to me, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Stay out of U.S. politics right now, and don't start telling the American people that we have to build bridges instead of building walls. We have 15 to 20 million illegals in this country that are raping and pillaging America right now and bringing in all kinds of drugs. I mean, massive crime. Get out of it, Pope, and stay in your lane, period.
Yeah. Amen. I know my time is up. General Michael Flynn, I got the links to your socials down there in the description below. Love to have you on again. Hopefully next time I talk to you, Trump has won the election. We'll see if we can make it happen. General Flynn, thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time today in the Alec Show.
God bless, Alec. Thank you.